Welcome to the show, comedian Paul Spratt. What's up, brother?
What's going on? Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I
man. Are
like
you?
it's very festive behind you. It's
Oh, well, these are lights that my wife hung up for Christmas, and I'm lazy. Well, there's two things. I'm lazy, and they kind of fit the vibe, I guess. I don't know.
it does. It looks like it's supposed to be there.
I'm more. It's more laziness than anything else. But yes,
You could
thank you.
just lie and be like, "This is my this is how I decorate it all the time."
Yeah, I mean, this is it. This is it. It's funny because I go back and you'll see old episodes because this is I'm over 3 years now, and back here was much cleaner at one point. So it's fun to see the clutter that I've added.
I think it adds to it because I think it would be boring if it was just a bunch of bricks.
You're right. It would be.
You'd be like, "He's definitely in a basement."
So, and I am in a basement.
Yeah,
This is my bar. This is the backdrop of my bar. I have my computer on my bar top,
sweet,
and we've been here for 3 years.
nice. It
Yeah.
looks good. It
Well,
looks
thank
good.
you. Thank you. Are you a Red Sox fan?
I am. I am an all Boston sports fan. So
This
every
is
single
gonna
one.
be. I love this. We've never met before. You are but a face on a computer screen on social media. You are an un in my phone. You are an undeclared phone number.
Yep.
I have not saved your phone number yet.
I haven't earned the contact yet.
But now you're a Boston fan, and
Yeah,
this is wonderful. I'm a huge Red Sox fan. I'm not big on what's going on this year.
neither am I. I think we're heading
This
into dark times. We're heading into dark times.
Well, I don't know if you saw, but the pitcher they got was it Gubliato or whatever the hell his name is.
I'm
He
not
could
sure of him.
Well, he just got picked up this year. I forget where he came from, but he was like one of their like pitchers that was not going to save the season, but like, hey, we didn't get X, Y, and Z, but okay, we got this guy. This is good.
Yeah.
And they found out today that he probably has a UCL tear, I believe it is, and he'll probably be out for the season.
So Tommy John. That sounds like Tommy John.
Sure. I just saw
Yeah.
the tear and out for season, and I'm like, this is perfect. This is where we're going. So I think they were in a good spot, like, from a negotiation standpoint with Montgomery and Snell, right? They're like, well, we don't need you, or we're not interested. Like, you got to come down your price. Now those guys know, like, well, now you need us.
Now you need us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I see I kind of lost interest in this season. I haven't actually been a very good Red Sox fan for the last few years because I wasn't been a fan of what they were doing.
Right.
So
That's fair.
Uh, they fired Bloom, which I was excited about, but it doesn't seem like they're going a different direction than where he was. So it's just imagine what the Red Sox could have been if they didn't gut it.
They
Imagine the
kept,
five cornerstones we'd have right now
yeah,
that we just
Mookie
gave
Betts,
away. Yeah,
Bogarts. I mean, Martinez is getting old, obviously, but yeah, it's what I get mad about the most. They fire Bloom. Okay, that's fine. I'm in the same boat you are. They hire Breslow, and they say full throttle. Off
yeah,
season, he's gonna go full throttle. And then when the fans call them out for a lack of the full
full
throttle,
throttle.
they get mad. The one guy, I forget his name, but he gets mad and like he's like insulted that fans are like WTF.
Yeah,
Bro,
they do.
this
They're
is Boston. What do you expect?
Yeah, you're supposed to spend the money. That's what the owner is more interested in spending his money and all the other stuff. And Red Sox fans are just not having it. But the thing that sucks is, I mean, Fenway's always going to sell out no matter what, and that's why the ownership doesn't really care. Because it's like, if Red Sox fans are going to show up whether they suck or not, then they're still making the money. It doesn't make a difference. So that's how they look at it. Because he owns the Penguins. He's in Liverpool.
You're right, right.
He just bought into Live, all kinds of stuff. So it's like the Red Sox are just an asset to him.
It'd be one thing if it was like the Athletics or a team that always was terrible. But when you're the Red Sox and you have this rivalry with the Yankees, like in the same division, like it's just frustrating.
Yeah, well, because I think I saw when spring training, or maybe it was a couple weeks ago, somebody was like talking. It was on some podcast. They were talking to a big baseball analyst, and the dude I was already asked, he's like, "Do you think the Red Sox are trying?" And he said, "No, no,
No.
they're not." And I was like, "Oh."
Yeah.
I was like,
Great.
"You just don't want to hear that. You like another losing season? Great."
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've had a lot of success, right? We've been able to witness a lot. Oh 04, oh 07, 13, which was probably my favorite team. And then, of course,
Yeah,
18. I love the 2013 team. I mean, Napoli and Johnny Gomes and Victorino and that whole team. I just love those guys and their vibe. But
that
but
was
hey,
the OG one, the Dirty Dogs or whatever, right? Was that them or was that the early? No, that was the Damon ones. Those are the
yeah,
Damon ones.
yeah,
But
yeah,
they were reminiscent of that. It felt like that vibe
yeah,
where it's like,
exactly. They were just like ball players. Like
yeah,
there was, I mean, like oh 04 had Manny and Poppy still and shit like that and Johnny Damon. But like the 2013 team, like they had good names, but they were just ball players in my opinion. And they just
yeah, they were
played the game the right
scrappy.
way. Yeah, I love
Yeah.
it. But we have the Celtics.
Yeah, but I was just talking to my buddy about this the other day. Is that the thing is, it's like the Patriots are good, they're good, and you're usually like, all right, they're probably gonna win. Or and the same with like the Red Sox. If they're good, they're gonna go far, probably. The Celtics and the Bruins have been the biggest tease of the last like 4 or 5 years. Like last, I don't know if you're a hockey fan, but the Bruins was the number one team in the NHL last year and then lost in the first round. And then the Celtics can't seem to get out of the conference finals. So it's just like, is it we look great again this year, but are we gonna get to the playoffs and then not be able to do it for the millionth time?
I mean, I think I just said to some buddies the other day, like this team, if they're all healthy, there's no team that beats them in a series. There's none, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
I mean, they're
Just
beating
beat
the doors off of everybody right now.
they beat the Warriors by what, 52?
Yeah, but the Warriors suck right now.
I understand, but still, it's fun. It's
You're
fun.
like, I'm still happy.
I
Steph's
am.
still there.
Yeah, Steph's still there. He's dangerous.
Yeah.
He just throws shit in the air and it goes in. I mean, what the fuck?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, you can't, even if he scores 60 every game, they're not winning.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm a Red Sox fan. Just by accident. 'Cause everyone asked me that. Why? How are you a Red Sox fan? You live in NEPA.
Are you
When I was
from
growing
here
up, I was.
originally?
What's that?
Are you from NEPA originally?
Oh
Or
yeah,
you,
born and raised. The
oh.
so the reason I became a Red Sox fan was before they were good. Well, I guess before they were good.
Yeah.
It was I've always just been a baseball fan. Like I was growing up, I was a Braves fan because of Greg Maddux, and I was a Dodgers fan because of Mike Piazza. I was a
Mhm.
White Sox fan because of Frank Thomas. I was all these. I appreciated sports and certain players. I was never loyal to a certain team. And then I went to visit a friend in college, and they went to college in Boston, and I fell in love with the city.
Yeah.
And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to be a Red Sox fan, and I'm going to pick a team and be loyal to this team. That was 2000, 2001.
Oh, you got
And
in right at the best time.
yeah, well, it sounds
Oh, so
nice,
you
right?
didn't have to
Yeah.
suffer. You didn't have to
No,
suffer very long.
no.
Yeah, you weren't
Well, I
suffering.
had to suffer through Aaron Boone in '03,
Yeah,
which was a
yeah,
heartbreaker.
that
But
was a tough one.
I love I mean, they're the underdog. They're in the same division as the Yankees. I love the city. I'm a Red Sox fan. And then I became a Celtics fan. And I was a Bulls fan my entire childhood. Michael Jordan. I mean, who wasn't,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Who wasn't?
But when he retired, I had no loyalty after that. Like I liked Scottie Pippen still, and followed him where he went. But my dad actually was a huge Celtics fan. He passed away in '05, and I just kind of followed the Celtics ever since.
So you got like
Also,
KG, the
yeah,
good era. Yeah,
yeah, I mean, I had the '08, so '08, '08,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So I had that. That was nice. But I mean, they've been in a drought ever since. I mean, they did go to the finals in 2010, I think it was, and lost to the Lakers.
Yeah,
And
for the most part, you get Celtics playoffs every season. It's just you don't get the
yeah,
championship, which is
yeah.
it's. I almost feel like that's more infuriating.
Well, yeah. I mean,
It's just like conference finals every year. There was like when LeBron first came into the league it felt like every year the Celtics were in the playoffs and then just lost to LeBron. Like it was like every year, like, oh, we're playing LeBron, great, and just
Yeah.
lose.
Yeah.
And it was
But
brutal.
think about this. I mean, watching regular season basketball, especially today, I mean, the scores are atrocious. There's no defense being
Yeah.
played.
No.
I saw someone post on Facebook a couple weeks ago talking about like, oh my God, these are athletes in the defense, blah blah blah. I'm like, did you just say defense in an NBA game in the same sentence? Because I don't know what you're watching. I mean,
They don't usually play till the fourth quarter.
well, back when I was
Yeah.
a young kid, like, when they're scoring 140, that was the All-Star game.
Yeah.
Every game now is in the, 120, 130. Like, it's insane.
Well, also there's like way more 3-pointers now than there ever was.
There is. I mean, I was
I mean, you
also,
used to shoot like 5 3-pointers a game, it felt like. Now they're shooting 45 threes a
yeah,
game.
they're just launching them. Yeah. And also,
Yeah.
I saw something somewhere where, like, trying to defend, like each athlete trying to defend each other now, they just destroy each other. Like they're just massive humans and stronger
Yeah.
than ever, and it's a different era. Whatever.
Yeah.
But
Everybody
what?
was gangly back then. It
Yeah,
wasn't as
everyone's
big of a deal.
scrappy and yeah,
Now it's just like these shredded monsters.
yeah, they're monsters, dude.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is like regular season basketball sucks. So like,
It's boring. Yeah.
yeah. So at least when it gets to the playoffs, it's like, okay, this is for something now. So it's like, okay, so I can watch this. And now you're watching the Celtics playing in meaningful games. So
Yeah,
be
well,
it.
my favorite is yeah. I usually don't start watching until the playoffs.
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
are they gonna make it? Are they good? All right, I'll catch a game here or there, but then I'll
yeah,
watch when it's like. Cause also nowadays, I remember when I don't know if you. It just felt like when I was a kid, like way less teams went to the playoffs, and now like half the league
yeah.
goes to the playoffs in all sports. Remember,
All sports.
baseball, it was like, oh, like 8 teams went to the playoffs. Now,
Yeah.
everybody goes.
Which is like cool and it's not, right? Like now there's more opportunity for your team to make it. Obviously it's a money grab for the ownership and the heads of the league and all that kind of shit. But like, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah, well, it's also
What
like then you get these garbage teams that just make it, and then you get them getting swept 4-0 in the first round. You're like, why were they even there?
That's true.
Like we're just wasting our time.
Or extreme underdog and they win.
Yeah, they get well, that's the cool one. I
Yeah.
like that one, but how often does that actually happen?
Paul, listen. It can happen anytime.
Did you
That's the
just
beauty
switch
of it.
from beer to coffee?
Mm. This is beer too.
Oh,
But
nice. Just in a
it's
mug.
in a branded mug.
Oh, look at
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
product placement.
Yeah. Better recognize.
Is this a video podcast too?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, look at that. I wasn't looking at it. Good thing I got dressed.
Well, good thing it's a video too. We'd be talking about your hat, and
Oh yeah, and
people
everybody
would
be
be
like,
like,
"What is he
"Look,
talking
what the
about?"
fuck is this guy talking about?"
Yeah.
But we're talking about sports, and we probably shouldn't be, right? Because we're here to talk about comedy, one of my other loves. And Paul, you reached out to me. I don't even know how long ago, about doing this. I forget when it was. Things didn't work out, and then you hit me up a week ago, and we made it work. And you got some cool things coming up. I'm not familiar with you. I've unfortunately had never seen you perform, but you're a comedian.
You and a lot of other people.
Hey, you gotta start somewhere, brother.
You got to be at the bottom for a little while before
That's
you can
how,
be at the top.
dude. I mean, how many comedians? I mean, they all started at the bottom. No one really.
Yeah, but I think it's funny because like when you only get starting to get paid attention to when you're at the top. So then everybody's like, "Oh, this guy came out of nowhere," and he's like,
Right.
"No, he didn't. No, he didn't. He's been
Yeah,
around.
he ate
You just
shit
didn't
for a
know."
long time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, he was in the gutter for forever. Yeah,
the gutter.
that's why I got pissed because Matt Rife was like, "Oh man, I was playing to like 70 people a show for a little while." I was like, "Dude, I love to play to 70 person a show." He was like, thought it was awful. I was like, "That would be great."
Yeah, I mean, well, I don't know what happened. How did that? He came out of nowhere. I mean, he's been doing it for a long time, but
Yeah,
it felt like he came out of nowhere. Like I don't know who his social media manager or his marketing manager person is, but like you couldn't get
he
away
was
from him.
good. Yeah,
You
he was
could like
everywhere.
everywhere. I'm like Matt Rife, Matt Rife, Matt Rife, Matt
Yeah,
Rife. And I'm like, I it's funny too, and he won't see this obviously, right? But
I'm gonna send it to him.
It'd be cool if he did. Are you guys friends? Are you guys friends? If you are,
No, no. I wish.
yeah, right. No, but like his like clips on like that were shared on Instagram Reels and things like that, hilarious. The special he released just recently was okay. I mean,
Yeah.
I wasn't like this sucks, but I'm like, this is not as funny as stuff I've already seen. Um, if you're not aware, I'm a huge Joe Rogan fan, so he was a guest on Joe Rogan, and that was in my opinion a mediocre uh
Bored. You
yeah.
I was
I was just
bored.
like, okay, like okay, you're handsome. I get it. You got abs, great.
Yeah.
But women want to fuck you. Awesome.
Good for
Congrats.
you, buddy. Yeah.
Yeah. You have a chiseled jaw. I did see something online though, like they're like, oh, um, his jaw's not fake. He just used one of these uh like rubber jaw things that
Oh,
you
the thing
like
that Rogan always promotes, like the
yeah.
jaw
Something
sizer or whatever it's called,
something,
jaw
yeah.
sizer. Yeah.
Yeah. Him, yeah, he promotes Jocko Willink, all these guys.
Yeah.
Chris Huberman or whatever. Yeah, a lot of guys are doing it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it works, but if that's what he used, yeah, hell yeah, it works. But
Yeah, good for him, but I'm
who
pretty
knows?
sure that's plastic surgery. Just saying.
That's a strong jaw. I mean, that's a strong
Yeah.
jaw from what he had before that.
Yeah, it's a drastic change. That would be a lot of
Drastic.
chewing for a long time
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get
yeah,
that,
yeah,
that
yeah,
muscle in there.
yeah.
Well, I felt like because I am too a Rogan fan, but that episode was one of the first episodes where I felt like I was like, this kid's only here because he's so popular. Like I felt
Right.
like that him and Rogan didn't get along at all because
Yeah.
he was like Ghost, dude, and Rogan was like, I don't give a shit about Ghost. They were both like flinging topics up, and the other one would be like, I don't care about that at
Yeah.
all. It was
It was
like, okay,
awkward. Yeah.
yeah,
I remember Rogan. I mean, I've been a huge fan of his podcast for as long as I can remember, but his I hated his early comedy. I hated it.
yeah.
Hated it. I didn't like his comedy until I think it was 2018 when he put out was that Strange Times?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so
That's a good
ever
special.
since yeah, Strange Times and then he had uh the one
The
after
one
that.
after that, I forget. Is it's all right. Strange Times, I think, was like the best one. Early Rogan was more like it's very
It was very
bro like
bro with
weed humor.
a lot of yelling. It's like I don't really
Yeah.
care for this. Like it just wasn't like and maybe I just couldn't relate to it. It may have been that too. Like I'm not that kind of guy.
Well, I
I'm
mean,
trying
the
to
difference between Strange Times and Flying Monkeys in Space is like those are two different Joe Rogans. That's what that is.
and that's what's cool too, right? As like a comedian or even like a musician, and I talk about that a lot. And I'm sorry I'm not looking at you. I'm trying to search something
No,
on
it's
my
all
phone.
right. Yeah, do
Um,
what you gotta do.
um, it's like you can change who you are, or like you can change what genre of music you play or perform. And there's so many people who are like anti that, like, oh, you didn't do the same thing again. How dare you? And it's like, why should they? Like, what are we doing?
Well, I always compare. I always say comedians are people who want to be musicians but didn't have any talent. So we just could talk. We couldn't play any instruments or anything like that because we there's a lot of crossover. Like musicians and comedians usually get along really well. But I also am envious because I mean, if you're a musician and you write a hit song, you play that hit song forever.
Right.
Once I record all of my stand up, that once you it's out, I can't say any of
Done.
that ever again.
No.
Yeah.
And
There's no
that's what
free bird for comedy.
you know what's
Yeah.
well, unless you're the machine. Unless you're the machine where you
Yeah,
have to
yeah.
do
Well,
that.
Bert.
You
Yeah.
know, Bert Kreischer. I mean, Shane Gillis, I think, has created this grilled cheese thing that people want to hear every time, right?
Yeah.
And we were
It's gotta
wrong.
be
It was triggered by Rogan in 2016. 2018 was Strange Times. Sorry.
uh
But
Triggered
no,
was pretty
so
good too.
they were both great.
Yeah.
I love everything before that I hated. But
Yeah.
but yeah, so like these there are comedians that can create that free bird moment.
I mean, but it's got to be like, "Where's the
Those,
cheese, Danny?" is like an epic joke. Uh,
yes,
yeah, I mean, Nate Bargatze's milk joke. I've seen him do that at his special after it was already out. He's like, "I know you guys have heard this, but I'll do it," and then
yeah.
everybody still goes nuts. But it's like there's probably there's not a lot of those jokes.
No, there's not.
I'll say,
Seinfeld's
yeah,
been going off the same shit for a long time too, which is
yeah.
disappointing to me.
Well, I mean, at some point, I mean, what is he even? What's the motivator at this point to even continue writing new material? I
Just to
mean,
be funny, dude. Like, I mean, like, I don't
I
know.
think it gets harder when a lot of people don't realize is that, and as a comedian, it's like it is terrifying. Like writing stand up is so hard. It's
Yeah,
so hard that like even like now, like me getting ready to record a special, it's just like I'm terrified because that means I have to start
over.
over.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it's like all these jokes that I know work, and like I don't have to. I'm not really bombing that much anymore because I got like an act. It's grinded out. It's good. So I could see how some people were like, "Oh, I'm gonna stick to this like hour that I know works," because like bombing sucks. It's not
sure,
a no matter how good you get at comedy, bombing still sucks. It's the great equalizer. It's like it still hurts just as much as it did in the beginning. You just deal with it better. Like in the beginning,
right,
you're just like you're bombing. You're like, this is the end of the world. This is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. But now it's like it still sucks. But you're like, all right, like now it's kind of funny. And you're like, I can like live through it more because my skin's thicker, but it still hurts. Like it's
sure.
still not fun. Um, but yeah, that's just that's why musicians have rules that you can just hey, I want to hear Freebird and you play it and everybody goes nuts.
But they also hate that too. The Freebird has probably run its course.
Yeah. Well,
But I mean, honestly, I mean, I love music. I mean, this podcast in general, it's entertainment. It's musicians, it's comedians, it's authors, it's tattoo artists, it's painting, people who paint. It's a wide variety of people who are creatives and entertainers and things like that. But 98% is probably musicians, right? But
yeah.
I would rather see a comedy show 9 out of 10 times.
Interesting.
I love music. I love seeing live music. I think it's more available to the everyday person, but there's nothing better than going to a comedy show and laughing for an hour. Like
Yeah.
that's like, I mean, I remember seeing Dane Cook. He gets a bad rap sometimes. Saw Dane Cook in Philly back in 2010. I want to say laughed the entire time, face hurt. I mean, Bill Burr, face hurt. Sebastian Maniscalco, the whole time, face hurting. Like, there's nothing better than like that.
Yeah.
In the same vein, I've been to countless shows, like countless, concerts where I've cried during the shows. I mean, I've
Yeah.
cried
Because it
during
just moved
Incubus.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like not even that I was moved, like, oh my God, this song is so epic. I can't even believe this is happening. It was just like for Incubus when they did not Morning View, the one before that from like 1999. Drawn a blank. I did this the other day too.
Science.
No, the one after that.
Make yourself.
Make Yourself. Thank you. Just that whole thing because they did the album front to back, and that whole thing just took me back to my life when I
Yeah.
when I first heard that. Being in high school, like you know, moments with best friends, and just like I think it was like senior year of high school, like when I first found that, or maybe it was
Are
like
we
junior
the
year.
same age? I'm 40. I almost said 30. I'm gonna be 41 soon.
I'm 41 now,
Yeah, so
so
because
yeah,
I was listening to, I mean, Make Yourself, that's gotta be like I was either a senior in high school or it was my first year of college when that album was so big.
yeah, because it came out in '99, but I think it
Yeah.
it hit later. So yeah, I remember doing like my senior project and listening to that album, and Morning View came right after that, and it came quickly after that because I didn't find out about that album until later. So like just all these moments of my life, like it took me back in time to like great friendships that like you don't have these days with the same people. Anyways, like
Yeah.
you just kind of move on and all that kind of shit. But um, so music in that sense, um, it's very emotional for me. And there are songs that just like I like to say like the ones that I think are really good. They make my nipples hard. And
Yeah,
I
yeah,
get
they're
goosebumps
just
and
real good. Yeah.
yeah, just like this is a cool song. But
Well, I
I
always
just
my one of my favorite questions. I don't want to cut your thought off. Did I cut your
no,
thought?
not at all. Go.
One of my favorite things to ask other comedians and musicians, because I think musicians are so interested in it, is like, what do you think? Because we're both performers, which we're both doing the number one fear of every human in the world is public speaking, and like two, a large like doing it well is a different feeling. I always ask musicians, what do you think is you a better feeling is hearing people sing your lyrics back to you, or do you think being on stage and killing, like crushing comedy wise, where everybody's just doubled over laughing and you're crushing? And I still believe to this moment it's hearing people sing your lyrics back to you, which is funny for the opposite of my job. Crushing obviously feels great, but I think hearing people sing your songs back to you is probably the best feeling because you're connecting with all of those people to the same level. And I know laughter is that too, but it's like it's more of an emotional connection. Like laughter is an emotional, but singing lyrics back is like that's a touch of the soul that I don't think a laugh could get.
I don't know, dude. That's a good question. And that's an
Yeah.
interesting question. And it's interesting how people would answer that. Because I mean, from a guy who's neither a musician or a comedian, like I put them on kind of the same level. Like
Right.
when you were at a comedy show, like if people around you are laughing, also, like you'll laugh that much harder because it's like you're doing something with somebody, like like if you're at a movie and something is funny, like
Yeah.
you laugh harder. Same with music. If everyone around you is singing, like, okay, like, yes, this is a vibe. Everyone's singing, like, you sing too. It's like kind of the same. I don't know.
Yeah. I could see it as being close, but it's just like because it's almost like a delusional thing because it's what because you're the crowd is connecting communally, but how does it make me feel? Like, because I mean, which one would feel better? It's like that's the because there is no right answer. That's why
Right.
I think it's a fun question to ask. Is like which one makes you feel a specific way?
Yeah. I think, I mean, again, not a comedian, not a
Yeah,
musician. I think a comedian's job is harder. I mean,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
out there all by yourself.
yeah.
Like
There's no drummer.
you can't fuck up, right? Like I mean, like think
No.
about a musician who's in a band. There's five other players. People who are, the technical guys will or girls will know, like, oh, they fucked up that chord or whatever it is. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, you're exposed as a comedian.
Well, that's
And
what I
if
always say. Is it music you can listen to passively? So you
yes,
don't have to be. You can be watching a band and be talking or doing something else. But comedy commands absolute 100% attention or
yeah,
else it doesn't work. Like it doesn't work. So that's always you can listen to Wagon Wheel and do other stuff. You can't listen to stand up and do other stuff. I
yeah,
mean you can, but not like a live show. I mean if you
yeah.
listen to it
If you're
on
not,
headphones.
yeah, if you're not following that, you can miss a whole thing. So,
Yeah.
well, I know we're here to talk about some things you have coming up. I'm going to say them really quick, but I don't want to talk about them too much. But I want to say them because in case we lose people watching or listening, they at least hear the pertinent information. And that is you have a show at Wisecrackers on March 22nd and 23rd.
Hmm.
And you're also doing this thing, and I'm so glad that you kind of hit me up because I saw this going around on social media. It's like a national comedy show. It's Don't Tell Comedy.
Yeah. It's awesome.
So I want to get into that. But first
Okay.
I want to find out, who Paul Spratt is that your real name, Paul Spratt?
That's my real name. I
That
didn't pick a.
sounds like
I
a
should have
comedian.
picked. It should. It's doesn't it? Sounds like a stage name, but that's my
It,
real name.
it's amazing. I'm like, I don't want to like out him here as far if it is fake, but like Paul
I
Spratt, like
should have,
that's
even if I pick something, it wouldn't be as good as the, I mean, it just
no.
flows.
I mean,
Yeah.
this is you are meant to be a comedian.
Well, hopefully the universe catches up to
Let's go.
that.
Hey, dude, like, you're 40, right?
Yeah.
I mean, this next half of your life is, this is the time.
Is that what they say?
That's what I'm saying right now.
Yeah, that's what you're saying. Is that
Yeah.
your mantra when you wake up? You're like, it's good. From here on out, it's up. It's up.
Actually, no, I shouldn't say that. I had a hard time when I turned 40. I was never like, oh, I'm 30, like, oh, well, I'm so sad. It was when I turned 40. 40 was a hard age for me.
Yeah.
And it just hit me. 'Cause I mean, I at that point, I I had two kids. And I was like, I got real like in my head, I'm like, you know, as a human, as a man, let's just say I live till I'm 80. Let's say I'm lucky enough to live to 80, which is
Yeah.
probably above the average, right?
Yeah.
My life is literally halfway over.
It's a wild concept.
My
I still
life is
feel like I'm
halfway over.
25.
Yeah,
I
me
still feel
too.
like, yeah.
Outside of it that it hurts sometimes to bend over to tie my shoes.
Yeah. Well, my body doesn't feel like
Yeah,
25, but my
but
mind does.
yeah, I was told one day they're like, "You're 40." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm 40." Like, there's no fucking way. I'm like, well, I don't know if the
Hey.
screen is hiding wrinkles or what it is, but I'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
That's a
but no,
win.
I mean, we should have it figured out. We're smart enough. Maybe it's not figured out. We're smart enough to kind of you know see people who are trying to get us and take advantage of us. But I mean, Paul Spratt. Prior to how did you get to where you are right now? And don't give me that. Well, my mom gave birth to me. Blah blah blah.
How
I've heard that
did I end
before.
up in where we
Yeah.
are? Like, how did I
No,
end
but
up in
like
Spain?
talk about, and I want to get into this stuff that you have coming up currently, but like talk
Yeah.
about, I mean, how did you get into comedy? How is that appealing to you? How long have you been doing it for? Give people an opportunity to hear about, your background.
What well, I got on stage maybe, I mean, it's got to be for the first time 15 years ago, and it was here at the original Wisecrackers when it was in the hotel. Um,
Is that sitting vacant right
Clarion,
now?
it's empty. Yeah, that
God,
place is empty. The hotel, I think, isn't even in business anymore. It used to be the Clarion, and then it switched over to this like uh Oxy or some hotel chain I've never heard of before, but I think it's now defunct.
that was on Penn
But
Ave, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right off the basically the like River Street exit off 81. It was like right there.
Okay.
But now Wisecrackers is in the casino.
Right.
So yeah. But I started there, yeah, 15 years ago, open mic on a Wednesday. I just I always loved stand up and didn't know, like, even growing up there was a job you could do. I thought, because growing up, all the stand up I watched, it was always celebrities. So it was like Howie
Right.
Mandel or like Robin Williams or, Chris Rock. Like all these dudes are in movies. So in my mind, it was always like stand up was like this thing that celebrities did on the side just for fun.
Well, they were
And
born that way. Yeah.
yeah. So I didn't realize until later on that there was this whole like, other set of stand up. You know what I mean? These guys, the lower levels, and then you start to learn about Dane, and that was around when he was coming up. Is when I started.
Mm.
Um, I mean, if I Dane Cook was probably the first real stand up I got into, which I mean, as a comedian now, it's not my proudest thing to say, but
Dude, me too, but
um,
he was on
yeah,
fire. You couldn't
he was
turn.
the man back in the
Oh,
day,
he's so good.
but then I mean, Dane in his own right is like a monster, but like to me, it's just like once you get to learn stand up and appreciate it more, you learn that Dane is one of the greats, but not like stand up wise. He's just one of the great acts. If
Mm.
that I like to separate it because it's like Dane was enjoyable to watch. He was a big personality. Like his jokes weren't always the best, but the way he delivered them was the best. He delivered them
Yes.
with a lot of energy and he was very big. And then if you hear stories about Dane, they said he was impossible to follow because he would just go up and he would just crush. And so he just rose meteor like he was unstoppable. But
Yeah.
as I started getting into stand up, Burr is my favorite comic, still is my favorite comic. And that's the type of comedy I appreciate now more, is more like edgy and more, better joke structure, well
Right.
written.
He's a great writer.
Yeah, he's unbelievable. But yeah, so I just did open mics for a couple of years, then got really into it, moved to New York to pursue it professionally, struggled in New York for a long time. Maybe I was in New York for 7 years when the pandemic started. And I was a comedian slash Uber driver in New York City. So when they shut, like, you weren't being allowed to be around people, that kind of killed both of my jobs.
Now,
So
like did that help you with material? I mean, I feel like in New York as an Uber driver, that would have to aid into something.
you would think
Ah, no.
it gave me like great podcast stories, or like
Okay.
hang stories, but like for some reason when you went on stage and you're like, listen to how crazy people are in Ubers, and everybody's like, we know. Like,
Yeah.
it just wasn't like
We're those
they
people.
weren't
Okay.
surprised by it. Yeah, like
Yeah.
we take Ubers, we experienced that. And like when I was doing it, I mean, Uber pool was still a thing. So you got in, you shared. I doubt they had that. Well, they did have it here, but you could share it with strangers still back in the day before they got rid of it. So like you
Right.
could literally be like, I only want to pay half, and you could pick up this rando halfway and take him. You know what I mean? Like, and that was wild times.
Yeah.
But none of it ever translated to stage, like,
Okay.
ever. I tried, trust me. There's some wild stuff.
Fair enough.
New York is a wild place, but yeah. So the pandemic started, had to move to Raleigh, where my parents live now. I lived there for about like a year and a half, maybe, and then came back here where I started. It's riding it out, seeing what
Back
happens.
home.
Back home, back in. I always joke that like NEPA is like this black hole, and if you get anywhere near it, it just sucks you in and you're just stuck.
I feel like we're the same person, Paul.
Yeah, yeah,
I really
yeah.
do. I've said that 1,000 times with this black hole that is NAPA. People always leave, they always come back. Um, Red Sox fan, Celtics fan, you're wearing a plaid shirt.
Yeah.
I mean, I
We're
feel like I'm looking in the mirror.
But you
Grow a
got a
beard.
fucking sweet beard though. I can't. Mine grows in like shit. I have
You
bald
got,
spot. I have
you
like
got it.
Mark Wahlberg beard. It's
That's
awful.
okay. It's all
Yeah.
right. I'm sorry to take out topic there, but yeah, I mean,
It's all right.
so you're back home. So you're back home, but
Yeah. Well, there's some kind of like there's like a lovable quality NUPA has, along with the soul crushing.
it's
Depends on the
something.
day.
It's
Yeah.
something. It's, you open the newspaper or, that sounds old as shit. I couldn't even tell you the last time I opened a newspaper, but
Right.
turn on the news or whatever, wherever you consume your news from, social media, whatever. And you see stuff and it's like, I fucking live here for real.
Yep.
This is
Yep.
happening right here.
You're like,
And of course,
what?
it's an election year, so um,
Yeah.
that should be fun.
Well, my favorite thing, I was like, Scranton would be so dope if they built that train that they're always talking about. And everybody's like, they've been talking about that train for 30 years. And I'm like, well, then just fucking build it. And
Well, I
they're
feel
like,
like
it's never going to get done. I was like, all
well,
right.
every politician talks about it. Yeah, we're gonna do this, but I feel like there was at one point a train, like it's
Yeah.
existed before, and
Yeah.
we
That's
just
why I
can't
was like,
figure it out.
how
Just
is
can't
it
figure it
so
out.
hard to let's just use those tracks that are
Yeah,
already there? Let's do
and
that.
EPA loves to like rinse and repeat. Like do that
Yeah.
for that.
Yeah.
Do it again.
It's so funny. It just doesn't make any sense. And it's just like, we don't want it to connect to New York because all the evil people are going to come here. I'm like, you think evil people have enough money to get on the train to come here? Like, we already have evil people here too.
They'll
Who gives
find
a
a
shit?
way. They'll
Yeah.
find a way. They will rob
Yeah.
someone of their car. Like
Yeah. They'll
you're not-
figure it out, but it'll rock here if we do that.
I mean, look at the goddamn border. Like what are we
Yeah.
talking about?
They're figuring it out. It's not stopping them. They want to come to Scranton, they're going to come.
If you outlaw guns, the bad people will figure out a way to get guns.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they made them. The guns are still technically illegal, at least the ones
Sure,
they're using. So it
sure.
doesn't matter. Yeah.
drugs illegal. Guess what?
Yeah, they're out
People
there.
do
People do
drugs.
them. People are doing them.
It's like
Fun
the
fact.
old adage. If you tell someone they can't do something, they'll do it more.
Yeah, that's my favorite because sometimes I have to do what they refer to as clean shows, where you have to be like family friendly. You can't talk, and it's not my specialty. It's not. I'm not good at it. Like that's not the type of comedy that I do. And the minute like they're like, "Hey, we don't care what you talk about, just don't say fuck." And then I'm just like, now all I'm gonna think
Fuck.
about while I'm on stage is saying fuck, and it's
Yeah.
just like, come on, you shouldn't have said anything.
Yeah. I guess they have to though.
Well, yeah, they gotta cover their asses. But it's
Yeah.
funny because like usually you're doing it for like a bunch of college kids. I'm like, I know these kids say fuck. Well, we both want us to say fuck. Like, what are you talking about? It's not a Christian school. Like
Right.
they're college kids. I don't know.
Well, that brings up a good point. I mean, um, not a point, but I'll transition to this. Um, comedy is perceived by people differently, right? Um, I know a lot of these big name comedians stopped performing at colleges and things like that because there were too many I don't want to say liberals, but just like, that everyone who was just like offended by something and like they just couldn't they don't want to risk it. Yeah, as a comedian, like are there places that you find yourself, that you perform better at, or is there anywhere that you would avoid?
I don't avoid anywhere, but yeah, sometimes I'll have a lot less fun time at certain places than I will. I mean, I'm a comedy club comic. I know that. So, like, I thrive in a place built for comedy. But I mean, I'll do well in a bar. I'll do well like a VFW. But if you put me at like a college campus or last week, I bombed for 50 minutes at a old age home in the middle of the day. So it's just like, sometimes as a comedian, it's funny because like music can be put anywhere and everybody's like, all right. But like you can't just put comedy anywhere. They were like, oh, let's have a comedy show for the old age people in the middle. It was like 3 o'clock and it was like the middle of the day. And it's like all these people are like in their 70s and 80s, and then like me. And they're like, yeah, don't talk about anything dirty. I'm like, they know.
They've done
Like
it.
there's yeah, like so I'm just up here being like, dogs, you guys like dogs? And they were just I haven't bombed that hard in a long time. And I was like, oh, this hurts. This hurts a
Yeah.
lot.
You
And my
say
buddy
you bombed
was
for
go ahead.
50 minutes? You bombed for
50
50.
minutes.
I said
50
50.
minutes of zero laughs.
Oh,
Zero, where I'm just talking at them. And there's like 4 or 5 people falling asleep. One dude with a walker got up and left in the middle of my act. And you know how brutal it is for a dude who
who can't
it's
walk?
painful for him to walk. And he decided he'd rather do that than listen to me talk. I just had to hear him just like like on his way out
Did he have
as
the
I'm
tennis
just
balls?
eating shit. Yeah.
The tennis balls in the back?
No, it's just the clicks. It was just boom, just
Oh
loud
no.
the whole
Oh.
time. Just oh
I'm done. I'm
yeah,
done.
just I'm not doing well. Yeah.
How do you, how do you get through that? Just
You just gotta keep going. Like they were like, we need you to do at least 45 minutes. And like some psycho part of me thinks I'm gonna be able to figure it out. Like I'll find something these guys want to talk about. And I just couldn't. I just couldn't. Just like, oh, and I'm like, I have to like the show's over and I have to like pack all the PA and stuff up. So like right in front of them, just like sadly just put the microphone back in the case. And they're all like, you did great. I'm like, you don't have to lie to me. Like I know it was not fun for anybody. Not even me. It was bad. So
it's like, were you afraid to laugh? Like, what are we doing?
yeah, like what if it was good? Where were you the whole time? You watched the same show. I watched you not laugh. Like you just keeping it in. I don't know.
How do you do it though? Like, I mean, well, you're a pro, right? Like, I mean, I imagine that, but like 1 minute in, like nothing. Okay, guys, I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Well,
Like,
yeah. In the beginning, I wouldn't have been able to do it, but like, yeah, I mean, after a while, you're just like, all right, I'll just plug away until something works or I'll run out of time. You know, this time I ran out of time, but
yeah.
most of the times I could figure it out. But there was nothing that I could say that related to any of those people.
50
I was
minutes
even
is
like, I was like, what did you guys do for a living before you guys got here? And it was just like, they're like, we don't give a shit about that at all. I was like, all right, cool.
well, what would you have said if they told you? Like, oh, I used
One of
to.
them was like, oh, I was a teacher. And I was like, oh, cool. Like, what grade? And they would be like, sixth. And I'd be like, you want to like elaborate? And they're like, no. I was like, fuck yeah. Thanks. They're like, we'd rather watch you struggle than help you.
This is how I taught my children.
Yeah. It was, but yeah, 50 minutes of is a long time when you're not doing well.
That's a long time. So I mean, obviously you didn't start as a comic with 50 minutes of material. I mean, how were you able to build up to that? And what was your first set like? Was it like a 5 minute thing at an open mic, or how did you get to the level
Yeah.
where you're at now?
Um, most open mics are 5 minutes. So you kind of build that way. So you're building five at a time. So you kind of put five together, then try to make that five the best five. And then when you feel like it's kind of done, you start a new five. And that's kind of you just like building like layers. But like I released an album in 2017 that like some of the jokes have gotten better. So they're on the one that I'm recording now. But like I learned a lot from then. That's like I think that's like 50 minutes of material that I put out like what 7 years ago. So I mean, you just kind of most of it's just life stuff. It's based in truth, and it just comes to me. But I mean, you also have to get on stage and tell it and figure it out. So it's just a lot of trial and error. That's another thing that I'm jealous of. Is musicians can sit in their garage with their buddies and write, Master of Puppets, but I have to go on stage and be like, so like dogs are weird, right? Like
No, it didn't
I have
work.
to have this
Okay.
random thought that's just like, do you guys think this is funny too?
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay. Scrap that.
Yeah, well, nothing makes you feel like a crazy person when you're like, I think this is hilarious. And then a room full of people do not. And you're like, what's wrong with me that I think this is so funny? But that's the art is taking your funny thought and translating it so they understand it. So it's
Yeah.
not that what you're thinking isn't funny, it's that they don't get it why it's funny to you. So you have to explain it.
Yeah. How do you
It's like,
present
so
it?
the trick is, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the secret sauce.
And that's the cool part. That's the cool part about it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, everyone thinks you can just go tell jokes. Like everyone's like, oh, well, people think I'm funny. I can go be a comedian. It's like, no, there's like
Nope.
timing and like, these transitions and like these. I mean, a good comedian goes from one story and one joke into the next without even knowing it. It's like it's such a
Yeah.
crazy form of art that again, I people always say, well, you're being creative and you're doing something now with the podcast. I'm like, I'm talking to people. Like this is
Yeah.
not even the same thing. Like
But this is
musicians,
a skill as well, for
no,
sure.
I don't think so. Well, I mean,
It
maybe it
is.
is, Joe Rogan level, like that skill, Theo Vaughn, all those big hitters, yes. But like what I'm doing, I don't think
Don't
so.
take yourself down like that,
Ah,
John.
dude,
You gotta pat yourself on the back. It's already rough enough out. It's rough enough as it is out here trying to do any form of entertainment. So
all
you
right.
did what 180 episodes. That
This
means
will be
enough
180.
people are listening that you're continuing to do it. So that
That's
is a
not
skill.
true. It's not based off of that.
Well,
I
you
don't look at the
enjoy it
numbers.
enough to keep doing it.
I do enjoy it. That's what
Yeah,
it
that's
is. Like
all that matters.
I
Yeah,
genuinely love doing it. Like the fact that we've never met before or even talked and that we're having the conversation that
yeah.
has gone this far, this long is amazing, right? I love that. But
And we
yeah,
haven't really talked about jack shit.
now
We've just
that
been joking around.
important things,
Yeah,
Celtics,
yeah,
Red
we're covering
Sox.
it. Yeah, we're hitting it all.
We got your comedy. March
Yeah,
22nd, 23rd, Wisecrackers, Wilkes-Barre, well, Plains maybe. It's depends on what you want to consider it. Mohegan Sun Casino.
yeah. It's
Uh,
always weird the tiny towns that just get enveloped by the big ones around here because they're just so. I've lived a lot of other places, and it's not like nobody is like so obsessive about the tiny towns more
Yeah.
than I feel like NEPA is. They're like, "Oh, where you live in Scranton?" They're like, "Fucking live in Dixon City, man. I don't live in
Well, that's all.
Scranton."
That's all we have, dude. That's all we have. Like, no, I'm from Dirty A. Like,
Yeah, I'm in Pittston. You mean like the
I
three
grew up.
blocks between?
I grew up. I was born and raised here. I'd never left. Don't fucking lump me in with Old Forge.
Yeah,
Uh, you know,
Old Forge, the nicest little part of a little town.
we're the self-proclaimed pizza capital of the world. Do not take that from
Yeah,
us.
where they just dump massive. The secret is massive amounts of cheese.
Just pile it on. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that's uh okay. What I'm gonna say does not reflect on Paul. It's not even bad. Like, but like Wisecrackers, like I used to work across the street from Wisecrackers when I was at the Weekender, way back
Mm.
when. Um, I had never been in that Wisecrackers, but they moved the casino. And to this day, like, I love comedy. I'm a huge fan of comedy. I will go see, Joe Blow. I will go see Joe Rogan. Um, but I feel like I don't ever know what's going on at Wisecrackers. I mean, I know that you're performing there
Yeah.
on March 22nd, 23rd. Um, Neil Rubenstein performed there, and I
I
knew
love Neil.
that.
Super nice guy.
Yeah,
Guy
I
rules.
know. I only knew that because he was on the show.
Oh, he was
Um,
on. You had him on this?
yeah.
Yeah, he's a
Well,
fascinating dude.
Paul, you're big time now. I don't know. You might get 5 new followers.
Ho ho, let's go.
Don't be don't
I
don't be
love Neil.
surprised. Don't be.
I have a
No, but
funny
so
Neil story.
all right, let's hear it.
Just real quick, I don't want to cut your like where you
No,
were going with it. But
I wasn't
Neil
going
would
anywhere really.
I have one of my favorite bands growing up was this hardcore band, Glassjaw. And Neil has a wild story about like he used to be in what the band was previously before Glassjaw. And the first time I met Neil, because Nick Bruce, the person who runs Wisecrackers now, is really good friends with Neil, so they hang out. So one day I was like, I didn't have a show, so I went to Wisecrackers, hung out. I'm wearing my Glassjaw T-shirt that I just got from seeing him do their 20-year anniversary of like everything you know about silence. Wearing this Glassjaw T-shirt. Nick went with me to that concert, so I roll in, and Neil's looking at me. First time I ever Neil, he's just looking at me with his disgusted face. I'm like, "What's going on?" And he's like, "Take them fucking shirt off." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Fuck that band. Fuck you for wearing it." I was like, "Oh shit."
Oh no.
He gave me one of his T-shirts that I have now. He's like, "If you put this over it, we can hang out." I was like, "All right, my bad, dude. I'm
Yeah.
sorry." But yeah, it was just that was our first meeting, so I had to like win his friendship back over after that.
What now? Did it give you in the Neil Rubenstein size to you?
No, he gave me whatever. He gave me an
Whatever size.
XL that I
Okay.
think was still snug.
Because
Still
that would have been
snug.
funny. That would have been funny. He's like,
Yeah,
yeah, take you can't wear that shirt. You gotta wear this shirt that's three
yeah,
sizes
a
too big for you.
giant blanket. Yeah, he's a massive human being.
Yeah, dude, he was he's funny. And he's this like dry humor to a degree about
Yeah.
him.
Did you go the weekend he was there?
So that's why he came out here to promote that. And he's like, "Yeah, dude, like come to the show backstage, like you're my boy, blah blah blah." And I forget what happened. I think it was like last April, as a matter of fact. Um, maybe it was 2 Aprils ago. I can't remember it anymore. But I don't know what it probably has something to do with my kids.
Yeah,
Again,
it's
little
always tough.
kids
Yeah,
need a babysitter and whatever. And I didn't have the heart to tell my wife to like, hey, I'm fucking
yeah.
going.
I'm going
I'm
out.
going to the
Yeah,
show. It might get
yeah.
weird. I don't know what's gonna happen. I maybe I'll
Probably
see you
would get
tomorrow.
weird.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't want to get divorced tonight. So yeah,
yeah.
so
Not
whatever.
yet.
Yeah, nice. Not yet. Dude, she's way out of my league and makes way more money than me. I can't
Yeah,
afford it.
yeah. You got to keep in line.
Yeah, I gotta stay straight and narrow.
Yeah,
But no, what I was getting at, and you said you know the owner.
yeah. Nick. So the original owner was Scott Bruce and his wife. So Scott Bruce was a big comic in the 80s, 90s, open for everybody. It was in New York. So back in the day, Wisecrackers used to have comedy clubs. They had Scranton Wilkes-Barre, Allentown State College, and some other stuff. But you know, comedy goes in waves,
Hmm.
so kind of downsized to one. But when Scott was running, Nick is his son, so he's taken over. So you're kind of seeing like a changing of guard in a way, where
Okay.
you're kind of getting some new blood in there compared to some of the older guys that have been known to be at Wisecrackers. So he's kind of mixing it. You still get some of the old guard, but a lot of new guard. So now a lot of Neil, you'll see there a lot, or some younger guys that you haven't seen in a while. So I urge everybody that if you haven't gone to Wisecrackers because you're tired of the older dudes, to recheck it out again. It's probably becoming one of the better clubs around. So
Well, that's awesome to hear. And what I was going to
mhm.
get at was, and maybe they're doing a good job. And maybe it's just not on my radar, and maybe that's my fault.
Well, it's
Um,
also like entertainment wise, it's so hard to cut through the noise of
well, right, but
everything
like
else.
I
Yeah,
just I never hear anything as to what's going on there. I
yeah.
just I
Well,
just
actually,
don't.
I think one of the things that me and you were briefly talking about through messages a while back was that my biggest argument with NEPA in general is I have no idea what's going on ever
Yeah,
in this town, because I feel like when I grew up here in my like early 20s, like Scranton was the epicenter of music, it felt like, in Pennsylvania. Like our music scene was very bumping, very robust, a lot of talent. Like a lot of big bands came out of here when I was younger, and now I kind of feel like Scranton kind of lost that pizzazz that it had, where it was like this artsy town where like there was a lot of creativity and there's a lot of stuff going on. And I feel kind of like for some reason it died down. And I feel like because obviously there's not as many venues anymore that does music in Scranton compared to how it used to be, but also at the
yeah.
same time, like there used to be music every night of the week in Scranton when I was a kid. And now, like, if I wanted to go see music tonight, I wouldn't even know where to look. I would look at the two places I know that still play music. And then if they're not, I'll be like, oh, nowhere has music.
So I think what you just said is really interesting, and I think when you said you were early 20s, I mean, in your early 20s, the Weekender was
Yeah.
huge,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's funny that you should bring that up because I just thought about this now, and maybe I'm wrong, but every bar, restaurant, club, whatever, things that, oh, well, I'm on social media and I post my specials and I post my entertainment and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's great. But again, if Wisecrackers is doing that, kudos to you. I'm not knocking you for that, but I'm not seeing that.
Yeah.
What if there was this source of
This
this
socialized.
source,
Yeah.
like one thing, maybe it was 80 pages, maybe it was 10 pages. Who the fuck knows? Who cares? But it was a guide that I could
Yep.
literally sit down and be like, okay. And that was called Coors Live back in the day. And it had every day of the week and every bar, club, whatever, they had entertainment listed in one spot. That was probably one of the top 3 pages that was like viewed pages in that weekender.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was the model of the week. They would turn to the man of the week to see who it was and to bust their friends' balls or whoever it was, and then they would probably go to Coors Live just to
Yeah.
kind of map out like, oh shit,
What are you going to do?
on Friday, Panacea is playing at Nightcaps or Go Go Gadget's playing Saturday at the Woodlands. Like there was a guide, and to what you said, like you don't like, when you're sitting there like, and I'm guilty of it too. Not even guilty, like the random time that my wife and I get a night off. Whether my mother has our kids or my aunt has our kids or whatever it might be. We're like, what do you want to do tonight? And it's like, I don't know. Well, how do we find out what we can do? And it's like, oh yeah, you go to the same like, oh, well, I know that there's a place 5 minutes from here just because it's like you pass it every day going home from
Yeah.
work. And so it's like, okay, well, what's going on there? Nothing. Okay, cool. Well, nothing's going on. I guess we'll just stay home and watch a
Just go
movie.
home. Yeah.
But seriously, like you need to be as, and I guess I get kind of fired up because I'm in advertising to this
Right.
day, and the Weekender was such a huge part of my life, and
It was
Print
a
is
huge part of
obviously,
mine.
yeah. Well, I
Like
mean, print has obviously been forced to the wayside, but I think there's still like
I think there's still
merit
a
to
need for it. I think
right,
there's still a
right.
need
I think we
because
just talked about it right now. Just like
yeah,
there's not a comprehensive thing.
anything to tell you what's going like. And if you go to big cities that are big like art or culture towns, they have that still. Like
Yeah,
Philly has one. Columbus, I was just in, has one. Like it's still like a centralized source of information of what's going on in your town. Like which is what a newspaper should be. You know what I mean? But I mean, that's kind of my qualms. I mean, I don't want to like give beef anywhere, but it's like the Weekender was our local paper, and then we had the paper that was like news, but they kind of weren't focused on the localized of it because they had the Weekender that did that.
right.
And I feel like that went away, and then that void wasn't filled anywhere. You know what I mean? And now, like, how do you even find out that there's a cool band that you
It's
haven't heard of in the area if you're
it's
not following them or happen to run into them at a bar that you go to? And like, I
that's
don't
what I'm
even
saying.
know other two places that play. I know Finnegan's has bands, the V Spot has bands,
Yep.
and then what else?
But no,
And that's kind of it.
when we have a night out, like a night out, like I would love to go see music because she's in that too. But it's like, okay, like where, where,
Yeah.
and
Where are we going?
I'll forget names of places just because they're not in front of me, and that's how advertising works. If there's any restaurant, bar, venue listening to this right now, that's how advertising works. The funniest thing that I've thought of recently is, the first thing people cut is their advertising. Bud Light was in the middle of losing billions of dollars,
And double it
billions
down.
with a B,
Yep.
billions, but they never stopped advertising. They were on radio, they were on TV, they were on social media, they were still everywhere. What does that tell you? Do they have a big pocketbook? Sure.
Right.
But they're losing billions of dollars.
They could have just laid down too.
Like, fuck.
Like, yeah.
Like, what
Oh
are we gonna
yeah,
do?
well, we'll disappear for a little while and come
Yeah.
back. And it's like,
Like, no.
or they wrote it out and then now they sponsored Shane and now you have Kid Rock on Rogan's podcast being like, "We made up, we're cool." Like,
And yeah,
and
Kid
now it's
Rock's
not a
friends with
thing anymore. Yeah.
yeah,
So
he's friends with Anheuser Busch.
yeah,
Crazy. But like, yeah, I mean, you can weather the storm, but like, yeah, and I thought that was funny too, because we talked before we got on this, before we hit record. I was out of ad sales for 3 years with Axel Rad's screen printing. I just recently got back into media sales with Rock 107 and ESPN Radio and QFM and outdoor billboards and things like that. And it's like, that's a story that I hope to share with people. It's like, people get scared, but like, and we're talking about it now. It's like if you're not, standing on the mountaintop yelling your name, no one's going to hear you
no one's gonna. And it's like the
for
most.
what it's worth.
It's on. It's the unyielding lesson in any type of business that you keep learning over and over. Because like, I'll tell you right now, like I'm finally joining team. Like I did social media because I felt like you know it's something I had to do, but I didn't embrace it. And just recently I've been like, all right, like this is not going away. This is a thing I got to embrace. And then when you do it, you kind of see how, like, I love this area, but also it's very stuck in its old ways.
Hmm.
So like when you're like, hey, let's do this, and they're like, but we used to do it this way, and I'm like, well, that way doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
You got to get, and they're like, nah, we don't want to do any of that. We're gonna hope this goes back the other way, and I'm like, I tell you, pal, it's not gonna go back to how it used to be. So
Yeah.
got to figure it out, which it sucks.
One day.
Yeah, and then you're out of business. You're like, what happened? And you're like, well, you didn't do the
Yeah.
different shit. But it's just, yeah, you have to promote yourself, and I think back in the day, NAPA had more of a sense of community. Like all the bars worked together. So like all the bars are fine that like Monday was Hiles, Tuesday was like this place, Thursday was Whistles when it was back when Whistles. Like it kind of felt understood that like you get a day and that's
Right.
your day, and everybody talks about your day, and there's no like, I'm not going to promote them because I don't want to go over there. But then a lot of those places are gone,
Yeah.
and I don't know what the shift was because it happened while I was gone, but I don't know how we went from a place that produced like, Breaking Benjamin and Motionless and White and like all of these bands that are from here, like, you know what I mean? Like, for a while we were like the place, and then it
Yeah.
kind of just died, and I don't know what caused it. I think it's interesting, but I don't know what the answer is.
I wish I had the answer.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
what changed?
Well, I mean, people, the way they consume things now is different.
Right.
These kids aren't, a bunch of degenerates like we used to be.
Yeah, the
Like,
drinking culture is
they're
way
like,
less.
oh yeah, like oh, we're healthy now. We run on Saturday mornings. It's like, you fucking pussy, go drink a beer and be hungover till 10 o'clock. Jesus Christ.
Well,
Like you're
that's
21. Just like you'll be fine. I
yeah,
promise.
you'll be okay. But I mean, booze is now,
It is
it's not
poison.
healthy.
And it's
Yeah,
not, it's but like,
it's
God damn
awesome.
it. It well, it's not, it's like one of those
And that's
things
coming
like,
from a guy I'm sober, and it's
are you
still
sober?
awesome. Yeah.
Well,
I'm end of April, I'll be sober for 2 years.
good for you.
Yeah, well, I was pretty good at drinking, so
Some people have to make that choice.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm happy I never had to do that. But it's like that's what your early 20s are for. Like just like
Yeah.
fuck around. Like I mean, don't overdo it, obviously. But like
Yeah.
if you wake up next to a random guy or girl, like yeah, it happens. Like just
Yeah.
it's not the best thing in the world, but like
Yeah. As
but
long as
those are
it is
those
consensual, it's
those
fine. Yeah.
exactly. But those were
Yeah.
that's where the stories and memories are created. Like there's like
Yeah.
I always say I have this saying it's like it's all about the story. And I loved, going out back in the day because you never knew what was going to happen. You can meet
Yeah.
your future wife or future husband that night. You could meet your best friend that night. You could see, your favorite band that night. Like it's like you went out and you never knew what was going to happen. And that's my favorite thing about a lot of things is you do it without these expectations. You just like maybe you go see a comedian you never heard of before and you fucking cry laugh.
Yeah.
That's great, right? But I feel like, and I saw something. It may have been on Rogan. I keep referencing him because that's a lot of what I listen to, and I don't have a lot of time to devote to other people. But there's a woman, I forget her name, but it's just recently, and there's, she was saying that this, Gen Z, like they're so caught up with their mental health, and like it consumes them. Like they're just like all they do is like that day they're like, oh, I'm in a good headspace today, but they
Yeah.
won't do anything like risky because they don't want to like, oh, I'm in a good spot. I don't want to risk it. And they don't live their life.
They don't get uncomfortable.
They don't get uncomfortable. And it's like that. I mean, life, I mean, going back to the radio, for instance, huge discomfort. Like
Yeah.
I said to you before, I said it on social media, like people don't leave Axelred on purpose. Like it's like, and people have been like scratching their heads, like, why are you doing that? Like that sounds
Yeah.
insane.
Switching
But
jobs is terrifying.
well, yeah, in general, but like
Yeah.
to go from a place where, you know, you're printing for Billy Strings and you're printing for Breaking Benjamin, and it's that those jobs come to you because, word of mouth and you do a good job, and it's just those things just happen to
Yeah.
a job where you're like, hey, Mr. Advertiser, this is why I feel that you should advertise with our stations or on our billboards or through digital media, is because it's going to work, and here's why. What's your target demo? It's a hard process, as opposed to let's print your shirts. We can help you with design, or if you have a design, great.
Yeah.
We'll take it. We'll print it. Done.
Yeah. See you later.
See you later.
Yeah.
So like you need to get uncomfortable because it's important to be able to overcome obstacles and be uncomfortable. And I mean the life is hard, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
hard. You eat shit for 50 minutes at a nursing home or wherever it was. Like,
Yeah. After doing comedy for 15 years,
yeah,
still
for
coming
15 years. Like,
that hard.
but no, like life is hard, man. Like but I think people now, this young generation, they just are so afraid of being uncomfortable or failing or whatever it might be,
Well, they
they're
see
just
it
like,
as
oh,
a
I just won't.
bad thing now.
They're just, I just won't do
Like,
it. I just won't do it. I
yeah,
just won't do it. And it's like, well, what are you doing with your life? And it's like, oh, I'm just staying inside and doing. It's all right. Are you gonna do that until the day you're dead?
yeah. You're gonna miss everything.
And I miss everything. I mean,
Miss everything.
some of my favorite moments in life is like doing like I won't say it on air because I mean, well, it's way past the statute of limitations. I still feel like weird saying it, but like I don't want
Yeah.
my son to watch this later on in life and be like, oh, that's cool. But you just do stupid shit when you're young. Like as long as you're not
You're
hurting anybody,
supposed to.
you're supposed to.
That's how you
Exactly.
learn. Yeah.
Part of life. As long as you're not physically hurting somebody, you're not putting your life in danger. Like it's
Yeah.
take those risks.
Well, I
And
don't know. Sometimes I put my life in danger and I learned a lot. I learned a lot of stuff. You
that
learn
too.
not to do that or,
Yeah, I won't do that
you
again.
know,
Yeah, for sure.
but
Uh,
I always like to say I learn everything the hardest way possible.
but you
Every
won't.
lesson's got to be the most aggressive lesson I've ever have. And then you're stuck. You learn that.
But you
You don't
learned it.
forget.
You know.
Yeah.
And I've got two children. I have never struck my children. I don't ever plan on striking my children. But like I was spanked when I was growing up, but it
Me
gave
too.
you like it just like you knew boundaries, like you knew when you fucked up. Like you like my parent, I was never like I didn't have bruises, like but like I was like you learned certain things and you knew
Yeah.
when you were right and wrong. It's like again, I'm not that parent for two reasons. One, I don't think you can be these days.
Yeah.
And
They frown upon it a little bit.
I'm very fortunate. Like my children are like insanely good kids. I'm very blessed. Like I have never even yelled at my son. He claims that I've yelled at him. And I'm like, buddy, if you think that was
Yeah.
yelling, we have big problems.
Yeah. Because this is a
Like,
very different,
this is
it's
you have no
a very different experience.
you've never heard me raise my voice. And I'm saving
Yeah.
that for when he really fucks up. But he's
Right.
6. Like I mean, what's he gonna do? Like
Plus, at that age, they don't know any better. So it's like,
exactly. You gotta
yeah,
teach
yeah,
them. It's and I want them to be able to approach me and say, like, hey, daddy, I did this. And it's like, whoa, bud, like, not okay. Here's why. And
yeah,
don't do that again. I'm not gonna beat your ass for it, but
yeah.
I don't know
But
how we got here.
don't do it.
How did we get here?
I don't know. We're the king of tangents. I think we were talking about kids nowadays don't want to be uncomfortable, and we
Yeah,
were saying
that's
like, well, I mean that also just circle it back to comedy is that that's the like nobody wants to take a chance to go see somebody they don't know because there's all these people on the internet that they do. So
sure.
like it's almost like that how to get from like here to here is so like astronomically hard. Like getting good at comedy is super hard, but then getting people to come see you and be good at comedy is hard. Because also it's the same thing. Like when I started doing comedy, like so many people would come see me do it, but then I sucked, which made no sense, right? Because like everybody at work would be like, "Oh shit, Paul's doing stand up," and like I'd have like 25 friends show up to the open mic when I was just starting out, but I was bad. And then over time, that like dwindled down because they're like, we don't really want to go because like you suck. You know what I mean? Like you're not good. And you're like, yeah, but I'm starting. I'm starting.
Right.
And now like it's a struggle to get anybody to come out. And now I feel I'm really good at it. It just you need one thing to catch fire. Like there's so many social media comics now. They're just hot. Like their crowd work. Like we were talking about Matt Rife briefly. That it just hits and now all of a sudden he's the guy. But then you could just go away just as fast as you show up. So it's such a weird tenable business that you have to like just exist in. So like getting people to come out, like be uncomfortable and go see a comic they don't know because unfortunately comedy is kind of divisive now in a way because you don't know what they're going to talk about. Am I going to get offended? Are they going to say like something wild? Are they going to be inappropriate? Or are they going to be political and they're going to disagree with my like there's so many different aspects of an audience member now than there ever used to be, I think.
With that being said, though, I think comedy in general is almost almost a safe place. Like it's like maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong. I feel differently about like I feel like maybe it's just people that I watch and listen to. They're just like fuck it, like this is comedy. They're
Yeah.
jokes. It's funny. Like if you think it's not, like, don't come, don't listen. Like just go away. We don't want you as part of this scene. But again, you can't keep everyone away, and it's still
Well,
dangerous. But
also you got to remember most of the comics you're probably listening to at this point are probably playing to pro them audiences. You know what I
yes,
mean? So like when
yes,
Bill Burr goes out and, talks about wild stuff now, he's talking to Bill Burr fans most likely. Like,
right, yeah,
75% of the audience knows who he is, know his type of comedy. I think that's why seeing an unknown comic is much more dangerous, because now you're just choosing to go see comedy, but you don't know what type of
right,
comedy it is. You don't know if it's a type of comedy you jive. You're just hoping it's funny. And you don't know me. I don't know you. So I have to
right.
win you. I have to win you over, which I think is so much harder. Like, because you're starting at zero when you come see me. You're like, I don't know this guy. I don't know anything about him. I don't know what type of comedy it is. So I have to convince you that I'm funny. But if you go see Bill Burr, you're like, I know this
Yeah.
guy's funny. You know what I mean? I know he's going to talk about stuff I want to hear about. Like, it's just a different experience.
Thanks for clarifying that. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. So how do you navigate that as a comedian who, you're trying to get known. You're trying to appease the audience. You're trying to, kind of make a name for yourself. How do you navigate that? Can you kind of get a vibe from a room by
Yeah.
the venue itself? Like how does that work?
I, I mean, well, the wild thing is that every crowd's different. So, like, um, even if the crowd the show before was awesome, it doesn't mean the next show they're going to be awesome. So each time is like, that's the fun thing about comedy is like, we were talking about earlier that you could still play Freebird and everybody loves it. It's every audience, you have no idea what they like, and you have to figure it out. Do they like dirtier stuff? Do they like smarter stuff? Do they like a mix of both? Do they like to be made fun of? Do they like to be talked to? Do they like to be like, I like sometimes to refer like sometimes a crowd needs to get smacked around, like they got to get woken up and they have to be told they suck, and then they're like, it's an art form in itself, is figuring out the like, I would say the psychology of the crowd, where you're just like, what does this group of people like represent as a whole? And you have to figure that out every time. And I have to convince them that I'm funny enough to figure it out. So then, but also the longer you do it, the more your material kind of molds into this like more universal, like you find a way to like make it work for larger groups of people. So sometimes the idea, and that's the tough thing with cameras now, and you see like every phone, like people recording stuff, sometimes you get what happened to Louis, where the bit wasn't done.
Right.
He was still trying to figure it out, but somebody recorded it, so he had to give up on it. Like, but it was offensive at the time, but he didn't get that chance to figure out like what was the funny about it, like what he was trying to like explain that he thought was funny. And that's the tough part. And I think that's the joy a lot of people miss out on when you don't go see like unknown comics or up and coming comedies. Like you get to see the joy of watching people work it out, which is
Yeah.
I think is the more beauty. Like if you see a comic, like you're going to see, like say, you're going to go see Burr when he's on tour. You're probably seeing a polished, ready to go hour of comedy. But if you go see him at like the Comedy Store on like a Tuesday when he's working shit out, you're going to see him. He's going to say some stuff that doesn't work, or it's going
Yeah.
to be super offensive because he hasn't figured out what the funny is. And that's, if you go and see it multiple times in a row, you get to see, and I think a lot of comedians get to see this because we see each other all the time, is you see a bit grow and evolve and get funnier and like figure it out. But like I think right now we're so in love with like big name comics and like this bigness that you don't, the journey's not as exposed. So like when you go, you're like, I expect this to be done. I don't expect you to like be figuring it out.
Yeah. Well, so that happened to me. Huge Shane Gillis fan. His
Hmm.
his recent special is fucking hilarious. And I went and saw him at the Curry Center back in November, and
Hmm.
he was working out a lot of material. Smaller market, I kind of get that.
Yeah.
Um, but I was kind of bummed to a degree because I knew what his his polished version was, and then I saw this version of him just kind of like throwing stuff out there to see if it stuck.
Yeah.
But I appreciate that too. Like I understand that there's a place and a need for that, but you're right. Like there are those places where that's the case.
Yeah. You have to watch it. It has to grow somewhere.
Yeah.
But that's also the fine line that Shane unfortunately has to walk now. Is like he's a big name guy. It's going to be harder for him to try stuff out because there's not as many places available to him to do it. You know what I mean? Like he almost has to do it at the Kirby Center, in front
Yeah, I
of
get
like
it.
1,400 people,
Yeah,
you know,
I get it. I get it.
which I'd imagine having a joke not hit in front of 1,400 people probably does not feel good. So
Yeah,
it
I mean,
just, it grows. Yeah.
people laughed. Just like I was like, and I laughed too, just not as
Yeah.
hard as I would have, or that as I
Yeah.
did as a special because
But I bet you in a year from now,
yes,
when he releases that, you're going to be like, oh shit, that's where that joke went. Or, oh, I remember he switched that up. And it'll be way more fascinating to you because you could see where it got to, like, because you saw where it was, and then you're going to see what it becomes, which will
S-
be, to me, way
so
more interesting.
it kind of happened because he just hosted Saturday Night Live,
Mm.
and some of his stuff from his show at the Curry Center was in his monologue.
Oh, nice. That's
Yeah,
dope.
so yeah, it was kind of a cool like and I was laughing more at the SNL stuff than I was the day of the show at the Kirby Center. So
Yeah. He
to what you're
figured out the
saying,
bits.
yeah, you're just kind of like
Yeah.
tweaking stuff, and that's it's an art. It's such a
It
cool
is.
thing,
And
you
it's
know.
also like you have to, well, I mean, every comedian is different. Is you have to be able to just find a way to deal with, like, I'll tell you right now, for a person who uses his voice for a living, like I hate the way I sound. I
Everyone
hate the way I
does.
look.
Everyone
Yeah,
does.
but the normal person, like even from doing these podcasts and editing them, normal people don't hear their own voice to the level that you do or to I do, because I have to sit and watch myself do stand up to like edit it
Right.
and figure out what to change, or sometimes I have to remember what I even said.
Yeah.
Like, all right, let me go back and see what I said. So like having to sit here and listen to my like, smoky Kermit the Frog voice, it's just like I can't deal with it. Like it's just like brutal. And then watching you do like, not a lot of people get the opportunity to watch what stupid mannerisms you have when you're
Yeah.
talking. So now I'm very aware of like dumb stuff I do with my hands and like the way I hold my body and like why do I change the pitch of my voice? My laugh is dumb. Like it's just a lot of stuff you have to endure
Yeah.
that people are like, I want to do stand up. I'm like, yeah, go sit and watch
Good luck.
yourself
Yeah.
do it for 35 minutes and see how you feel.
It's amazing how like your cadence and your delivery, the timing and the way, yeah, the way your body, like, yeah, all that plays into everything.
All of it matters. Yeah.
I don't think people get that sometimes. People just like, oh, he's funny, he does this, and
Yeah. He's
no,
just
he
talking
like
about his day. You're
he
like, no, he's
perfected that.
not.
Like, he's
Yeah.
been on in open mics for the past 6 months doing that
Yep.
one joke.
Yep. Well,
Yeah,
that's because you mentioned you love Sebastian. And I briefly met him like a while back. I was friends
nice.
with somebody who opened for him, and it was at Gotham. And I got to watch him do a show, and then like talk to him for a little bit afterwards. And like, I've to this day, I've never seen anybody have the most well dressed audience. First of all, just like everybody's dressed to the nines to go see Sebastian. Like,
That's how he
women are
is
dressed
too.
all the way up, men are wearing suits. I was like, that in itself is wild. But then to watch him crush harder than I've seen anybody in my entire life crush. Like this guy, like just destroyed to the level. Like I was on the side of the room being like, I suck at this. Like I'm never gonna be that good. Like just destroy. And then talked to him about it afterwards, and he was like, "Man, that's a lot of work." Like he's like, "There's no wasted words, there's no wasted movements. Like everything's planned out, everything's thought through from beginning to end. Like he's not doing anything extra that isn't needed. Like everything's with a purpose."
Yeah.
And you're like, it's like a science. It's wild. It's like fascinating to me. But then you watch Burr, and you can tell it's kind of like it's not as dialed in as Sebastian. It's more raw, but like the
Yeah.
jokes are still there, which is I like to see the difference.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude, I mean, being a comedian and going through the process is a talent for sure. And I wish you all luck along your way. Um, and not everyone can do it. Not everyone has the balls to do it. And for 15 years, I mean, Jesus
yeah,
Christ, like that's
and
awesome.
struggling for all of them,
Eating shit in nursing homes. Yeah.
just bombing.
But
Yeah,
you have these let's talk about these two things coming up. The Wisecrackers, the 22nd, 23rd. What can people expect from that? Are there other people joining you for those shows?
uh, at Wisecrackers, it's I'm taping, so that's my I'm taping my first ever like official comedy special. So that's there's gonna be cameras. You're gonna
At
be in the
Wisecrackers.
audience at Wisecrackers. All three shows I'm filming. So it's gonna be a YouTube special, I would assume, unless Netflix really wants some unknown comics, hit me up. But for now, it's gonna be a YouTube special. So I'm filming that weekend. My buddy Tyler Rothrock's going to be with me, and then Scott Bruce, who I was talking to you, is going to host it. So it's pretty awesome. It's a very intimate room. It only holds 130 people. So you'll be in
So
the audience.
I should come to that. We'll get
You should come to that.
some
Yeah.
content in the green room
Yeah.
for your special handshake, hugs,
Yeah.
hanging out, just
All the good
chilling.
stuff. Yeah. You should definitely come. Be my guest. Bring your wife.
Yeah. I, I was supposed to be in AC that weekend, but I'm not going
Cancel
to
it.
be.
No, I'm kidding.
I'm not going to be. I'm not going to be.
Oh, nice.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's Friday at 9 and then Saturday 7 and 10.
Okay. All
So,
right.
but recording all three, gonna mix them together. Gonna be a sweet YouTube special. I'm recording in Emmaus the Thursday too, so I'm gonna like there might be some overlap. We'll see. I'm just taking because I tried to record. This is my second attempt at recording a special. I tried to record one about a year and a half ago, and I just wasn't in the best mental space to do it. So I wasn't like very happy with it. I wasn't, but this one I feel ready to go. I'm very excited about it. I feel good about all my stuff. I feel like anybody that comes out will have an absolute blast from beginning to end. So I'm very excited about it. I can't wait to do it.
That's awesome. I hope I'm there.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
got
Me
it
too, dude.
written down here. Thank you
Yeah.
for,
I will remind you.
yes, please do. You have my number. I
Yep.
will save your name,
Yeah.
so I know who it is. Um,
And you can
so
come
yeah,
compliments of me, so you don't have to buy tickets or anything. You can come meet Nick Bruce, see Wisecrackers, see
yeah,
what it's all
I
about.
would love that.
Nick, I think would be a very good like guest one day if you would like.
Hell
He's a
yeah,
very interesting kid.
I
Grew up
love
in
that.
comedy. Very cool to talk to.
I love that
So
for
I think you
sure.
guys should meet each other for
And
sure.
yeah, and I would love to, help promote that venue. I mean, I
Yeah.
love comedy, and I obviously I love this area. Born, raised here. I want this. I mean, I've worked in media for 20 plus years, for helping promote this area and the things
Yeah.
going on. And I would love to be part of Wisecrackers and helping that, some exposure there. But March 22nd, March 23rd, Friday at 9, and Saturday at 7 and 10 p.m. Another thing I saw, and I didn't know you were involved. I saw it on social media. It was this "Don't Tell" comedy. It's like this secret thing. Like there was
Yeah.
no. I saw it, and I'm like, this is like, I tried to find it. I'm like, where is this being held? I just saw Scranton. I didn't know where it was. I'm like, this is fucking genius because like you're creating this buzz, you're creating this like exclusive like thing and invite only type of deal, like, or you have to know somebody to get in. Like, can you talk about what this is now?
Yeah. Yeah. It's the cool thing is that it's at a different venue every time. So I get to really see a lot of cool parts of NEPA that a lot of people wouldn't see. So That's the thing I like about it is Don't Tell brings attention to some small businesses you probably wouldn't have gone to on your own. So the idea of Don't Tell is that it's in unique locations. So it can't be like when you usually go see comedy, it's in a bar, comedy club, a brewery, you know what I mean? So
Right.
we've probably done about, well, I've done, I don't know why I've seen we've because it's just me, but probably about 10 now. And they've all like every place that we've done a yoga studio. We did a coffee shop in Wilkes-Barre. We did the skate shop in downtown Scranton. We did the Curry Donuts in Wilkes-Barre. That was the last one. That was awesome. Some of the ones we got coming up is like we're on a rooftop of a place. Like a fancy restaurant I think we got coming up. Like it brings you to places, and that's what I love about it is number one, you get to see somewhere you probably wouldn't have went on your own. Number two, you don't know who's on the show, so you're only going because you're a fan of comedy. So it's like it's going to be a good show. I handpick every comic that's on the show. Like I craft it to the best show I could possibly put together. Last show we had that was at Curry Donuts. We had two comics who were on Comedy Central that came through. The next one coming up this Friday, March 8th. I have somebody that's been on late night. So it's like you get to see comics like you're just going to see comedy and you're releasing yourself from like what we talked about most of this episode is you're not going to see some famous person. You're just going somewhere cool. It's a cool vibe. Everywhere has been awesome and you're going to see comedy. You're just going to have a good time in a place that's unique and different. And that's what I love about it. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring it here is that I think what we talked about this whole podcast is that I felt like I want to bring that artsy, like cool thing back to our town that I feel like it's missing. Is that whenever you go to a bar or you hang out in Scranton, everybody talks about how there's nothing to do in Scranton and it sucks and it's boring. And then like you either go somewhere else to have fun. No, we can have cool stuff here too.
Yeah,
And just like New York has or Philly has, this is the same thing. So, I mean, if you support it, it can grow. And that's what I'm hoping people do. And so far, I mean, almost every show's sold out. So people are digging it. It's going really well. And I'm trying to grow it.
that's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's dope. It's
Where
so
can people
cool.
find more information on that?
You just go to don'ttellcomedy.com and then you search the city of Scranton.
Okay.
And the cool thing is, we're not just in Scranton. I do them in Wilkes-Barre. I'm like expanding. So it's mostly NEPA. It's not, but they put the label as Scranton. But Don't Tell it's cool. It's in 150 different cities across the country.
Okay.
So it's nice that we got something cool like that here.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for, doing that. I mean, this,
No problem.
no, it's awesome. I
Hey, you're
mean,
welcome, Johnny. I did it just for you specifically.
you know what I mean? No, I'm serious. Like
Yeah,
there's,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, you said it. Like the common theme is like, oh, this is fuck this town. It's boring. There's nothing to do. It's
Yeah.
like, no, there's cool people doing cool things. And, you're one of them. So,
You just
thank you
have to
for,
find it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So I've got two questions for you
Hit
and
me.
we'll wrap things up. And I think that these will be fun questions. These are a couple questions that were posed at Axelrad with Tyler Rice. Shout out Tyler. But oftentimes we were just sitting around bullshitting and we would kind of like just throw things out there, right?
Yeah.
One of them was there's an asteroid coming to Earth. It can't be stopped, and you have 5 days until it hits and ends the world. What do you do?
For those 5 days.
Yeah, again, asteroids coming. There's no Will Smith. He can't save
Yeah.
you. It's
Not
going to
sending
hit the
Bruce
Earth.
Willis up.
Yeah, the world. It's going to end, and you have 5 days, and you know this. You have 5 days. What do you do?
Probably rage. I'd probably get off the wagon. I'd probably start drinking. I would go to wherever I could do the most amount of comedy and have the most amount of fun. I would go on a bender for 5 days.
Yeah.
And I think that would be what the majority of everybody would do. And I think it would probably be the most epic bender of all time. Because I feel like everybody knowing it's over at the same time would unite us. I think everybody would be like, let's just party for 5 days. I think that's what everybody would do.
So sure, right?
Yeah.
Now, this actually kind of goes into what I'm going to say next. Really well, actually. But imagine switching bodies with someone for a day. So I asked you the question about this, or asteroid, end of the world. You're like, yo, we're just gonna party. Fuck it. Now, let's say you're me, wife, 2 kids. World's gonna end. What do you do?
Still party.
I mean, I went to a dark place. I'm like, I don't know what I would do.
Day. Well, that I mean, that's a sad place. That's a sad place to go.
Yeah, but like, what do you like? What do I like? Okay, like
Well, you have to hang out with your family. That's what you would do for 5 days. But
I'd probably cry for 5 days. I'm like, I'm only gonna see you guys for 5 more days. Like,
oh, you
I'm
have
only
to
gonna,
make the best of it at that point.
I know, but like, what do you do? Like, what do you like? It's like,
Whatever you want,
I
because
guess you
then
kind of,
there's no bills, there's no future. So
yeah. I mean, I
whatever money
guess,
you have, you can do whatever you want.
yeah. And I guess I mean, obviously, you don't want to tell your children, hey, like, we're all gonna die in
Yeah,
5 days. You just kind of want to, shelter them
you
from
let
that.
them figure it out.
Yeah.
They don't
Well,
have to know. You just be like, mom and dad are staying home from work for the next 5 days. Whatever
yeah,
you want to do, we're gonna do, and just have the best time.
yeah,
And then at the fifth day, you'll be like, I don't know why it's getting dark out, son. And then
yeah.
it's
Seriously though, it's like, yeah, if
I
I'm
don't know what's
single,
happening either. Just don't
I'm
turn any TVs on.
yeah.
Just
If I'm single, I'm gonna try heroin. Like,
yeah, I'm gonna
like
do everything. Yeah, I'm
world's
doing it.
over, heroin, like whatever. I don't care. We're gonna die
Yeah, you have to
anyways.
do all the drugs in the last 5 days. I feel like.
But as a father and a protector of 2 children, and like it's like, wow, hey, let's go to the park, I guess, and
Yeah,
swing for the monkey bars, and I just want to make sure that you don't know what's going to happen in 5 days.
I think that would be almost way more peaceful than partying, though, because you can imagine. Because like we'd all party, but then we'd all get to that level where you're drunk and then you get emotional. And then everybody's like, we're going to die in 5 days. And everybody starts freaking out. But you're just in the park and your kids, you're going to bed at your normal
Yeah,
time. Like you're living life
but
to the max of what you wanted it to be.
I wouldn't be sleeping. I would need the beer and drugs to sleep. Like I'm not going to be like, oh my God, like I have 3 days left with my children. Oh, I have 2 days left with my children. Like I'm just going to sleep fine tonight. Oh, no big deal. Like I'm
Oh,
like,
so
oh,
I'd probably be the most relaxed I've ever been for those
oh
five
man.
days. I think. Because like I know I'm an anxious, like I'm a dark person. So there's just
Yeah.
the finality of knowing that none of it matters. In 5 days, it's just all over. I'd probably be so relaxed. I'd be
Uh,
like, this is the best 5 days I'm ever gonna have. That's
I
why
hope.
everybody hated the pandemic. I thought it fucking rocked. And not like I'm not saying in the way like obviously people dying is really sad and all that other stuff, but like man, I was pretty relaxed for like 8 months. Cause like there was no FOMO, there
Yeah.
was no like stress really. I mean, there was stress, but like I was one of the lucky ones that got paid to stay home. So like it was the only time when you literally could kind of do whatever you wanted and there was no repercussions. Like you want to stay up late and play video games for 8 hours, you can because there's nothing going on tomorrow. There's no report due, there's no job,
Yeah.
there's no any of that. I loved it. I know it's bad, but I was also in the South and it was nice out. I got out of the city. The South also didn't care about it after three
No.
months. So
Masks. Fuck masks.
yeah,
Yeah.
everybody in the South is like, this is bullshit. Like three
Yeah.
months in, they're like, open the malls back up. We don't give a
Yeah.
fuck.
No, I mean, and the pandemic was a blessing and a curse. I mean, it gave
Yeah.
people a different perspective and a new lease on life to a degree. And it just I mean, it's all again, these Gen Z kids, like, I mean, like this is like real life shit. Like this could happen again.
Yep.
They say it's not even if, it's when. And those are
Well, I mean, one was one every 100 years or so.
well,
That's what they're
it's
saying.
just difficult moments. Like
Yeah.
I remember, we were my wife would come home from work and like, take our clothes off and go shower, and we were wiping off fucking cardboard boxes. It's like you
Yeah.
look back on it, it's like that was insane.
For a couple weeks, it was pretty
But,
wild
but you
there.
don't know. You fucking no clue. You're just like, oh my
Yeah.
God, this is gonna be it. This might be the end.
Well, I mean, I was in New York City for the first
Oh
two
boy.
months of it. So I
Wow.
was at ground zero. And it's like you when you wanted to go to the grocery store, you had to basically put on a hazmat suit. You had to wait in line. But like the it's I know in retrospect it's like but like in retrospect it's funny because like if you've ever been to a grocery store in New York City, there's no room to spread out.
Right.
So they made you wait in a line, but then they let a few of you in, and you were still just right next to each other because there was no choice. It
Right.
was just like, what are we doing? Just because I'm in this hazmat suit, and then you had to wipe everything down. It just
Yeah.
made no sense. But also, I mean, I was stuck in my apartment alone in New York City for 2 months, and I just watched Marvel movies all day, and just I slept whenever I wanted. It
Yeah.
was kind of like I don't know, peaceful in a way, even though it was also terrifying at the
Yeah.
same time. But like, I always joke like it's harder to you compare that mindset to now. It's like I have so much work to do. I have to write jokes. I have shows to go to. I have to book shows. I have to promote those shows. I didn't have to do it. My whole job didn't exist for 8 months.
Yeah. Well,
I
people
didn't have to
slowed
worry
down for
about any of
sure.
that shit. Yeah. So it's
People started realizing what's important in life and what's not,
yeah.
which is
Yeah.
good. So, well, we'll see till the next one.
What was your third question?
That was it. I only had two.
Oh, I thought you had three.
No, if I said three, I was wrong. I only had two.
We just went to a darker place. Oh,
Yeah.
you're frozen.
Yeah. Oh, what?
Oh, there you unfroze. You're good now. Oh, is it me or you?
I can see you.
We almost made it the whole
Oh,
way.
you're freezing now. Now you're freezing. I guess we should wrap things up. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Oh no. Paul, come back to me. Paul Spratt, come back. Are you back? Oh wait. Oh no. Paul Spratt, come back. We're gonna wrap things up. We're almost done. We went like 3 minutes too long.
I'm back. Do you see me?
Yes, I can.
Or
We went
I
like
was like,
3 minutes too long. God damn it.
it's all right. I was like, all of a sudden, I was like, I don't know if it was me or you.
I was
And then
moving. I could hear
and
you.
then I
And
had
yeah.
it. I had a thing that said your internet is unstable. I was like, all right, it's me. It's
Fuck,
me
we
the
were
whole way.
an hour and a
We were
half.
cooking. We
God
were
damn
cooking.
it. God damn it.
Well, I mean,
No, it's a good thing
the
that
problems.
people stopped listening an hour ago. So I mean,
You can't think that way. We were having a great podcast.
I do. I mean, I love this. Like I honestly
Yeah.
do. I hope that honestly, I hope that I can make it to one of your shows on that March 22nd, 23rd date. I'm looking forward to that. And you're a
Yeah.
Boston
Please
fan. Love that. Great guy to talk to. You're doing cool things within our area. Love that too.
trying to.
So if people are interested in learning more about you, where can they find you?
At Paul Spratt on all the social media, so it's nice. I got it before somebody else did. So at Paul Spratt, no numbers, no underscore, no dash, no one.
There's no other Paul Spratt out
No,
there.
just
So
me.
good.
And then
Good.
my website, iampaulspratt.com, which pops right up. I'm the only one. So
I love it. Paul Spratt is a fucking comedian's
it's a great name. It's a great name.
Perfect. It's fucking perfect. Well, dude, thank you so much for hitting me up and
Yeah,
allowing me
thanks for
to.
having me, dude. This was a blast.
Yeah, it was
It was
awesome.
a good time.
Really
And I
enjoyed
hope you
it.
come out, meet Nick,
I'll hit you
get
up.
deep into the comedy
I would
scene.
love to. Yeah, dude. I mean, I'm in. I love
Yeah,
it. I do.
for
So,
sure.
thanks again, and hopefully, I will see you in person the weekend of March 22nd, 23rd.
Yeah, hopefully. Please come on out.
Awesome. Thank you.
See ya.
I'll see you.